I know, we're so good. It's 'cause I
Look at the time. We're even early.
We're never early.
We're never early. Here we are.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome to Parenting for
Divine Destiny.
Welcome.
Did you not sleep last night?
I actually.
Sorry. She's Angie Taylor.
I'm Angie Taylor.
Rochelle Lindenberger.
She's Rochelle Lindenberger. No, it's sunny here today, so we are super excited.
Yeah, very excited
about the sun. And that's right. Rochelle and I watch old videos just to see Rochelle, like this really big fat person. Just kidding. I'm kidding. Like, don't write mean comments.
Okay, you're bullying.
We all know she's like, I am bullying you.
She's bullying me. Yeah,
bully.
she totally did that. We all know
that it's like, yeah. So we're trying to like make us look the same size, because I realized I always look like huge compared to my little bitty friend. And so we decided if Rochelle gets like really close,
stop.
No. Let's just try this. Let's just entertain the folks for a minute.
My word.
If Rochelle gets really close and I get really far away, does that help with perspective? Does that like slim me down just a little bit?
She's had way too much sun today.
I had a lot of coffee today.
Yeah,
really already had a lot of coffee. Anyway.
Oh, goodness.
So, no, really, this is Parenting for Divine Destiny. We do have a point today.
We really do. Yes. And it wasn't that.
It was not that. But that is important, you know. Anyway, we are talking about, you know what, I think we get this a ton. Again, if you don't know us, we've been in education for 25 plus years, over 50 years between the two of us.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, the bully conversation is a common, frequent conversation every single year, numerous times. It lands often, largely in what grade?
Middle school.
Middle school. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's but sometimes we'll get it younger and sometimes we'll get it
middle school
older too. But
pretty normal because our perspectives are off a lot because of your hormone changes and all of that, trying to figure out who you are yourself. Yeah.
So I think we'd love to talk today to start with a really critical piece that often is missed when your child comes home and says, I've been bullied, or when the teacher calls you and says, your child's bullying so-and-so.
Yeah.
I think one of the number one things that we can do for both our kids, for you yourself, is teach your kids about themselves and self-awareness. So the way we do this, we actually do this with adults. I think Mindy Harden had commented it earlier, that she's like, we have this problem with adults. How do you deal with adults?
Yeah,
and it's totally true. Can I tell you, probably the number one training we've ever done as a staff is it's a color training. In fact, when we're done, I'll put a link in the notes to the assessment piece. But this is something that literally sits on every staff desk. And so what this is every color is identified kind of in a personality type. There's some testing.
It
represents something. Here, would you like to?
I'll help.
You help.
I'll help you.
You be my Vanna.
Okay.
You be my Vanna. So every color represents personality, strengths, personality. So let's just, red is more of a bold, more of a direct communicator, get it done, take charge, cut to the end, cut to the chase. Doesn't need a lot of the details, but wants to get it done.
Yeah.
Blue is high level of detail, definitely wants more information, needs A, B, C, D, and so forth. Whereas red is going to go from A to Z and not necessarily want all the blue
details,
and then green. Why don't you talk about green?
Is fun.
This is Rochelle.
I'm fun.
Yeah.
This represents your you like to have fun, you're happy, joyful, positive, you're just
outgoing, gregarious, spontaneous.
Yeah.
So if you've ever been in the Valor office, Matt and Rochelle both are
green.
high green people.
Yeah.
So like literally they are singing, they are dancing every day. Yeah. Like they bring the fun. And then yellow or gold, depending on which test you take.
Yeah. This is your more sensitive,
you're sensitive,
aware,
you're compassionate. A lot of times compassion
empathy,
is attached to this.
Yeah,
you're empathetic, but you're also more sensitive towards things coming at you.
Right.
So what we find at you guys is that no person is all one. Right? Every person is a combination of them. So like if we were going to talk about Angie Taylor should become as no surprise.
Nope.
I'm high on the red scale. I generally go green, but on stressed out week, I can go like that, right? So I'm green, so I'm high in dominance, but high in spontaneity and fun. Then I go blue and sensitivity.
She's not very compassionate.
Listen,
just kidding.
I do. I genuinely love people.
She does.
But I will admit that this is not my greatest strength. Whereas Rochelle, what are you?
Well, so when I did my tests, they were all almost even or equal.
It's because you're kind of perfect.
No,
that's annoying. Why do I let you be on this show? You're teeny.
No.
That's right. We don't compare people. Do not compare.
This is my dominant one.
Okay. Yes.
So it was like this was the highest, and then these were kind of equal.
Okay. So, but here's why this is important. Here's why it's really, really important for your child to understand about themselves, for you to understand about your child, is because you're going to be able to help your child navigate life. Because here's the number one thing. If you can teach your child anything, teach them this. They can't control their environment. They can't control choices and how they react to their environment. Those are the two key things. But here's what happens a lot. It's happened in my life. I've seen it happen in other kids' lives. I'll bet it happened in your kids' lives, because Rochelle has a couple of kiddos that have some strong red in them as well. When you're a red dominant, where you're just kind of, it often is associated with leadership, but you can be a leader regardless of color. But a strong red, honestly, a lot of the kids that get called bullies, and by the way, I think we would both agree, bully is way overused.
Yes.
Super overused.
This is, I hear this all the time when kids come in, they're bullying me. And so I try to ask questions, listen, validate. It's like, what their eye at me, or they didn't sit by me at lunch, and they're things that, I'm asking them, well, maybe they didn't get much sleep last night, and maybe they're just feeling sick, or they're a little cranky. So it's not always about us. It's not about you. It's
often.
It's even adults do this. I worked in a dental office, and two of the gals I worked with, they hated it when a certain patient came in, because they always felt like this patient was rude to them, was cold, was they would just be like, he's like a jerk. and so I'm like, well, first of all, when people go to the dentist, there's pain associated with that, and there's money, and those are the two things people. But come to find out, this guy, his daughter died of cancer, little girl, and he was not in a very happy, fun place in his life. So it wasn't about them. It was about he was dealing with pain, and it came across like maybe he was not a nice person, or maybe he seemed rude, but he was hurting inside. And that's the one thing, hurting people hurt people.
True.
And not always intentional. But kids don't understand that.
So if we go back, though, if your kid, because what we're finding a lot, once you've gone through this, our staff actually literally has Lego blocks on our desk that represent, hey, here's the person you're communicating with. Because when I have staff members that they're gold, they're highly sensitive, they're both to other people as well as their own personal emotions. It is always such a helpful reminder to me, who's a red direct communicator. I'm one of those people that, like, you can look at me, I could have created something, and you could look at me and say, I hate that, this and this needs to change it, and I'll look at you and go, oh, thank you, that's super helpful.
Awesome.
And I can communicate that way. So when I know one of my staff members is strong red as well with me, we're just like completely thrown about. Somebody would think we were pretty brutal with one another when we're just getting it done.
It's just the facts, man.
It's just who God created us to be, which, by the way, in my job, I would be crushed, honestly, if I were
you
a
would,
lot more
because,
sensitive.
Yes,
there's
people always tell you what you're doing wrong.
Exactly.
And all your
mistakes. There's a lot of critique and criticism that comes with the world that I live in. But what I would say is often the kids, and this is not true. Listen, there are the exceptions where, your kid's full on getting punched, and we're going to talk about that because that's a separate thing. First thing to do is help your child understand them. The gold, the yellow characteristic, the ones that are more compassionate and sensitive, are generally the ones that are saying they feel bullied, right? Like that often is, and sometimes what's happened in that situation is you have a red type personality in the room
talking to a gold,
and the reds. And let me just tell you this is, I feel like this is something I've had to grow in, especially as a leader. Often my intention does not match my impact. Right. So what I'm intending to communicate is not the way it's being impacted, because I'm a super direct communicator, super straightforward. And we have lots of kids on our campus that are
like that.
Direct communicators, but their intent. So that's the one thing to help your kid always understand is
what's their intent.
Is that we don't know people's intention. Right. And it's like Rochelle was saying is, man, that kid maybe didn't sleep last night. Maybe he just got a bad grade on his last class.
Maybe his parents were fighting right before they came to school.
Maybe
and
his parents are getting divorced, right?
Yeah.
So there's so many pieces that can play a part into that. So the first thing to help your child understand is, like, having 3 kids, my kids land in all different colors. I did have one that was pretty sensitive towards things and would come home feeling, frustrated and confused. And that is the one that you really start asking a lot more questions. As a parent, we always want to jump in and protect and save and take up defense. Guys, our job, while obviously obvious danger, yes, protect. We're not saying don't protect on that. Our job is to equip our children for the world, to prepare them for the world.
Give them the tools to know how to handle.
And so giving them, empowering them. I'm such a big believer, even in bullying situations, that we teach a child to have a voice, and that we teach our kids that often kids that get labeled as bullies, where we would tell you they're not. They're not. They're leaders, and they need to understand that their impact is not what they're intending. They're very direct, and they come across like the bull in the china closet. So the first thing we would tell you is help your child know who they are. Help them understand the differences in people, because it's been so fabulous just even as a staff to understand this. I texted one of my teachers just the other day. I said, hey, stop by my office I have a quick question for you. And I remembered that teacher this is her top. And so I followed up the text with another text that said, by the way, there's nothing bad in this. It's a quick, easy, simple question. There's no bad news coming. And she said, thank you for understanding. I needed that. The only reason I knew she needed as a red, I don't need that. You can text me any day and go, come see me, and I'm not going to worry about being in trouble. It's just, it's not the way we roll. But for our sensitive ones, but when you understand people,
it's how their brain thinks and how they take in information. You can take in information. If I was really bossy to you, it's like, Angie, stop doing that, or go do that. You're like, okay. Or no,
that's
she would
exactly what I did.
She would fight me.
Yes, Rochelle, can I get you coffee?
No,
too?
my point is, that's a good idea.
I know.
No, she wouldn't be offended by the way that I said something to you. Whereas other people might be a little taken back, like, are you mad at me? The way you said that, or the way you were kind of,
so it really is helping your kids understand, because remember, your kids are never going to be able to change their environment. They're never going to be able to change how other people are. They can change what is going on inside of them.
Yeah.
And there's an old adage that is like, you know what, for those of you that think people are bad mouthing you and thinking about you, you know, you're worried about what people think. The truth is they're not thinking about you at all.
No.
The truth is they didn't see you. The truth is you probably have your feelings hurt to know how little somebody thought about you. I mean, that's a and that's for me too. Yeah.
And you're dealing with things like being offended when really you're giving that person control over your emotions and your feelings, and they don't even know you're upset.
Yeah.
So you're the ones.
Yeah. So this is like, honestly, the first thing we would say on this whole issue that we're talking about is, first of all, know your kid, help your kid understand themselves. Your number one job is to equip and empower them. And the best thing we can do for them is help them understand themselves. Because if you understand, you are, and can I make sure clear that no one of these is wrong or right?
Nope.
They just are. Like, it's how God made us. It's how God made your child. And so, like, it's easy to assume whatever one you are, the others are wrong. That's not the case. In fact,
it's just the way that you perceive information.
Yeah. In fact, I would tell you, even in my hiring practices, I'm super intentional. If I'm this, I know I got to surround myself with people that are this. I need to send, you know, like I very intentionally keep all of this in mind when I'm hiring people. But we actually at our school campus help kids. We walk through this process with kids because we actually think this is a really powerful tool to empower your. When we go through the bully process and we're talking about kids being victimized. Be so careful about having them be victims.
Sure.
How do you give them a voice? Like, the number one question when a kid feels victimized is, how do I give this child a voice? Because they're feeling powerless. How do I put power and help them with power? Right? Like,
exactly.
So first, helping them understand themselves, helping them ask good questions before they make the assumption. And I think I've talked about this in the past. I've had people come up to me and ask me why I hated them. And I was like,
why are you mad at me today?
I don't, like, why would I hate you? You know, so understand that, guys, are often people's impact is not what their intent is. And so be very, very slow to assume.
You don't want to, as a parent, yes, you want to protect your kids. Yes, you want to validate. You want to listen to them. But at the same time, you don't want to get on their bandwagon saying, I can't believe they did that. We need to do this. We need to say, next time you need to just say this. We need to figure out, like you said, ask all the questions. Like, are you sure it was about you? Are you sure it wasn't them just having a bad day? Maybe they were not being focused.
Well, and have them learn to go up and advocate for themselves. Teaching your kids to advocate for themselves and say, hey, did I
do something?
Did I offend you in this situation? I would say, be really honest, I had this situation with one of my kids where somebody had felt like they were that my child had bullied them. And in talking with my child felt like, gosh,
she was oblivious.
I wasn't. But as a parent in that situation, I could have very easily been annoyed and been like, they're accusing my child of things. You know what? I didn't do that because I want to make sure my child knows how to be compassionate and caring towards someone else that maybe leans more this direction, and perhaps the child she's dealing with leans more in this direction. And so I wanted to be able to teach. It was such a great opportunity to teach my kid to be compassionate, to be self-aware, to be like, understand if they're feeling more sensitive and compassionate, like, you can't control anything they're feeling, but you can be sensitive towards that. Right. So, like, there's such a fine balance in here,
and I feel like too, as a Christian home and parents and everything, we teach our kids, and it's what Jesus taught you: love your enemies. If you really truly feel like you're being bullied, the best thing you can do is pray for them. And because when you start praying for someone that you feel like is, you start changing. It changes your attitude towards that person, and you look at them a little differently with, oh, maybe there, because most of the kids that bully people or bully kids, it's usually because they feel powerless. They're hurting themselves. So it makes them feel like they're more powerful. It makes them feel better about themselves when I put someone else down. Sometimes it's jealousy, it's envy, the whole comparison thing. And so if you're teaching your kids, or if we're praying for those people that we feel like are coming against us, bullying us, it really gives us more, it changes our attitude towards them.
Well, and furthermore, rather than just simply praying for the bully or praying for the action to stop, but praying, honestly, praying blessing.
Yes, absolutely.
Over that child, praying God would bless them, praying that God would give them eyes to see their influence and their impact. Because that's often what's happening is they lack that understanding of their influence and impact. If you are, though, let's say no, this is legit bullying, right? Which means my kid, it absolutely happens. It definitely happens. I would say more so in middle school, just as kids are kind of figuring out the whole new social lay of the land, because it changes. But what would you say to the parent that they do feel like their kid is being bullied? They do feel like, okay, yes, I've gone through this with my child. We've tried to navigate this at home. Now it's time for something to change. What would you say about that?
I think, I honestly think there needs to be dialogue with that person. I feel like you need to, because a lot of times you can talk about it separately, but when you actually come face to face and there's a relationship, and you realize, oh, that person's not like what I thought. There's something about being together, having a relationship, building a relationship that kind of breaks down those walls, because it's a lack of understanding. That's what bullying is. It's a lack of understanding on both parts.
Well,
and so actually like if I'm having an issue with you and I'm talking to you face to face, there is something that happens there. And the Bible says, speak the truth in love. So, and it's easier, instead of talking about it away from each other, when you talk to each other, there's something that happens there.
Well, I think that's such good counsel. If you're in a smaller environment and you do have access to connect with the parents, one thing I always told my kids, and actually something that we tell the kids in the office, I always ask the kids, and this is a big deal, if your kid's getting bullied, be the parent that is willing to talk with the other parents, and not in an angry way, but hey, can we get this solved? Can we get this resolved? And because that's so useful for parents to be a part of the equation. But one thing that I say to kids often is, do you want to talk to that kid's parents? I said that to my kids all the time. And would you like to talk to that mama? Because I don't think, and that terrified. They would rather talk to the teacher. They would rather talk to the school. And that, it's not near as scary, but having you, the parent, listen, do not do this. Because I don't want to say, Angie, the principal told me this. Listen, do not ever, this is huge, never approach somebody else's kid without a school official or the parent involved. Okay?
Yes, true. Yes.
Never go take out somebody else's kid. That is you can get the cops calling on you for stuff like that. We've definitely had people make that mistake. But I do like what you're saying, to connect face to face with the parent. Hey, Frank Smith. It's good to see you.
Where's Frank?
Do you know Frank?
Yeah, I do know Frank.
Okay. I was curious if you knew Frank.
I do, yeah.
Anyway.
Frank's awesome.
Frank is good. Anyway, Frank's a good guy.
Yeah.
Anyway, where were we? We were, and then if you do that and you're still feeling definitely get school people involved so they can be alert, because sometimes, bottom line is this, guys, bullying happens when teachers' backs are turned. Yes. Bullying happens in those moments in between the classrooms. Bullying happens. So, a
lot of times kids assume teachers know what's going on. I know it's happened in the class.
The teachers are.
They do it when it's very subtle.
It is. They're brilliant. It is brilliant.
And I have to say, as parents, this is one thing we need to be the models for our children is, how do you talk to your spouse? How do you talk if you are rude, disrespectful to your spouse.
Yeah. Really
whether it's
or to your kids.
Or to your kids.
Yeah.
To your kids.
They're going to come to school and talk like that.
They're going to talk.
Totally
You're
true.
the example. So we need to be the example of how to. It starts with honor and respect, and it starts at home. And you need to honor and respect each other. And that is the example that the kids have of how you treat people. And that's where it starts, is at home. But we have to be the example. And don't think your kids aren't listening. They listen to you.
It's really good.
And how the tone of voice.
Yeah.
The rolling of the eyes, all of that.
We're going to get wrapped up. We want to recap just a little bit, because the first thing on this topic is I think we're really quick as parents to jump to trying to fix the environment around our kid, rather than trying to empower our kid to work with, to be successful and win in the environment.
Right.
Number one goal for a parent is giving them the tools to be successful in any environment, even when you got tough people, because guess what? Everywhere you go, what I always say is the personalities are the same. The names just change.
Right. It's true.
I've moved all over the country.
Wherever you go.
I've moved all over the country. I know Rochelle in like literally every location I've ever lived. I have a fabulous Rochelle in my life from those places. So just know you're actually, these are training grounds for your kids, and teaching them first about themselves. How do they, like, do you tend to take things a little more personal and be a little more sensitive than the average Joe? Understanding, listen, that's just who God made you be. But I think it's super empowering for our staff that have done this, and our kids that have done this, to recognize, okay, sometimes I need to take a step back and not always take personal offense, right? But then you also need those kids that are bold and brash and leaders that are, often the ones that get called the bullies. They need to understand.
Or bossy.
Why do you look at me when you say that?
I don't know. Bossy.
But they need to understand what their impact is. Right. So we're going to wrap it up, because Rochelle's got to go.
I do.
Got a party going too.
Right.
Having fun.
Always, yeah.
If you like our content, like it and share it with your friends. Comment on questions. We're going to put the link for that personality testing. Anything you can do to give your kid more insight into who they are and how God made them.
And it really, for parents to do this, it really helps you communicate to your children. Yeah. So that they won't be offended, or they understand you. There's more clarity. Or your spouse.
Or your spouse. Because like, I'm like this, and my husband is like this. I know I said everybody else was everything.
He needs all the details.
You know what?
And you're the big picture.
Big Daddy makes sure we have everything we need on vacation.
I know.
God bless that man. Yeah. I'm like, what? So anyway, God bless you guys. Thanks for watching.
Have an awesome week. Enjoy the sunshine.
We'll see you later.
Bye.